In researching this video about Rise of Skywalker, I read this comic about the Knights of Ren. Fun fact, the Knights of Ren are led by a guy named Ren. That's their whole thing. He's like, hey, it's me, Ren. He doesn't wear a shirt. Okay, well, here's the video.
I love Star Wars. I love the movies, I love the games, I love the TV shows, I love the books. I have a bunch of action figures that I can't stop buying. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. And while I think there were definitely some bright spots in the writing and the performances, the sequel trilogy for me didn't work. Definitely did not work as a trilogy. The sequel trilogy being episodes 7, 8, and 9. And I'm not saying that the movies themselves were all bad, but I definitely don't think there was very much cohesion between the movies to create some sort of overarching narrative. I also don't think the sequel trilogy really knew what to do with some of its more important characters. General Hux was supposed to be your secondary antagonist, and I don't think the movies ever really did the legwork necessary to make him threatening or scary. And then characters like Finn definitely seemed to have arcs going into 9, and it felt like those arcs were dropped and the characters were more or less forgotten about. And I didn't hate what the sequel trilogy did with original trilogy characters. Yeah, I would have loved it if Luke, Leia, and Han could have met at some point just to say hi, I guess, but the sequel trilogy made interesting choices when it comes to Luke, Han, and Leia. However, there was one character, one specific character more than any of the others, who the sequel trilogy seemed to have no idea what to do with, and that's Chewbacca. He had a major presence in the originals. I'm sure you could make the case that he's the 5th lead in any of those movies, next to maybe the Emperor or the droids. And he even got an origin in Solo, a movie that definitely wasn't amazing, but has a lot of really great parts, specifically Dryden Voss. God, I loved Dryden Voss. I don't know what it was about that performance. The fact that he felt so warm and angry and threatening. You never knew what he was gonna do. Yeah, he'll have to kill you, but if he could come up with a better idea, he won't. He's not pure evil, he's just kind of an opportunist working the system. Anyway, Chewbacca is an insanely important Star Wars character, and his entire involvement in the sequel trilogy amounts to he shoots Kylo Ren, he tries to barbecue a porg and fails, and then he fake dies. That is not good. It doesn't make sense on both fronts. First, the fact that Han and Leia's best friend didn't have anything interesting to do in a story where the main antagonist was Han and Leia's son is wild. And then second, Chewbacca's gotta be the 4th or 5th most merchandisable character in this entire franchise. He's gotta be one of the top 5 selling Halloween costumes out of the Star Wars movies. So cynically, you would assume from a business standpoint, Disney would want to give Chewbacca something cool to do besides just sit around and wait for the movie to be over. So here's what I want to do. I want to give Chewbacca one moment. And listen, in this video, I'm not trying to make a giant change to rewrite all of Star Wars Episode 9, although I'll probably make a bigger small change video specific to the ending at some point. But no, I just want to outline a moment. A single moment where Chewbacca can do something cool and interesting and important and memorable. Make his presence in these movies felt. And as much as I would love to say I came up with this one on my own, I can't. Because I'm going to borrow something, a piece of concept art that was leaked from a book that has yet to be officially released, I believe. I assume so they can retroactively add concept art with Palpatine, because it doesn't seem like there's very much concept art with him in it, which makes it seem like they probably added him at the last minute anyway. Now, there are some really interesting ideas that have been leaking for this concept art book, a lot of which would have required big changes. Some seem to be pretty small and would have been really interesting. For instance, there's a lightsaber guillotine. You've got Kylo fighting Vader in a cave sequence, like in Episode 5. Rey's got a double-bladed lightsaber. Luke is Force Ghost caching a lightsaber. There's Hux committing some sort of lightsaber seppuku. Just a bunch of really interesting things. Some would have taken a lot more work to fit into episode 9. Others not so much because they're just fun little concepts. However, there was one specific piece of concept art that really caught my attention. One that it really kills me was never fully realized in the movie, and one that I don't think you'd really need to make too many big changes to fit into episode 9. However, if you did add it into the movie, not only could you do a couple other interesting things, you would be able to give Chewbacca that missing moment, that big thing that he could do to make his presence felt in the sequel trilogy. And it all comes from this piece of concept art. Kylo Ren speaking with an imprisoned Chewbacca. The fact that there's no major interaction between these two characters in any of the 3 movies is crazy because Chewbacca's probably Kylo Ren's godfather. Chewbacca was around when Kylo Ren was a child. I'm sure he taught him something about flying starships, and then Kylo Ren went and killed Chewbacca's best friend. These characters have been on a collision course since episode 7, and then when Chewbacca is captured in episode 9, there should be something, and this was it. Now, what would this scene look like? We don't know. It could be anything. This could just be something someone drew once because they thought it was cool, and they never expected anything like it to make it into the movie. Although, since Chewbacca is eventually kidnapped, it does seem like this was a little bit more fleshed out than maybe some of the other ideas. But indulge me while I describe a possible scene based on this concept art that I think you can fit pretty comfortably into episode 9 and would give Chewbacca the moment he deserves. So Chewbacca is captured. He's chained up in this holding cell. Kylo Ren enters with 2 Knights of Ren. Speaking of things no one had any idea what to do with in the sequel trilogy, let's use the Knights of Ren for something. I'm not going to make them these super cool badass Force warriors, but I am going to give them something to do. You'll see what I mean later. And Kylo Ren has the helmet on. I don't remember if at this point in the movie he had reforged it, but he has now. Because this helmet represents so much. And listen, it was probably reforged so that they could sell different toys and so that they could ADR lines and so that they could add Kylo Ren to the theme park ride that Adam Driver probably doesn't want to use his likeness in. There are probably a lot of other reasons why Kylo Ren has the helmet again. However, there are a lot of interesting story and character reasons why he does. After losing the fight to Luke Skywalker and being rejected by Rey, Kylo retreats to what is comfortable. He feels comfortable behind that mask. He doesn't want to show emotion. He doesn't want to make himself vulnerable. Up until very recently, all Kylo Ren wanted was to be the next Darth Vader. Rey gave him an opportunity to be something else, but when she rejected him at the end of The Last Jedi, Kylo didn't have anything left, so he retreats back to that comfortable image of Vader, which is why he has this helmet on. So Kylo and 2 Knights of Ren go up to Chewbacca. Now, I know you've all read the visual dictionary and you know all of the Knights of Ren and all of their names and what weapons they have and what those weapons mean, so I don't have to tell you which Knights of Ren we're gonna use. But for the 1 or 2 of you out there watching that can't name all 6 or 7 or whatever Knights of Ren off the top of your head and which ones have which Force weapons and some have guns and how tall they all are and what their masks are and whatever, for those 1 or 2 of you, I'm gonna give you an idea of which ones I want and why. I want 2. Trudgen and Ushar. And we all know which 2 those are, but in case you don't, Trudgen's the one with the big cleaver, and Ushar has a war club that can release a concussive blast. Besides that, there is nothing important about these guys in this scene. So Trudgen and Ushar are guarding the door, and a masked Kylo Ren walks up to Chewbacca. So Kylo Ren is here to interrogate Chewbacca. He asks Chewbacca some question about where the Resistance is hiding, and Chewbacca doesn't say anything. Chewbacca doesn't even look up at Kylo. It's unclear whether Chewbacca is very focused or if he's completely defeated, but he's not giving Kylo any attention. So then Kylo goes to force interrogate Chewbacca, which we've seen him try to do a couple of times. Now, we're going to see Kylo Ren put his hand up to Chewbacca and then strain a little bit, and Chewbacca's going to strain a little bit, but then we're going to see what this actually looks like from Kylo Ren and Chewbacca's perspectives. Because Kylo Ren isn't torturing Chewbacca, he's going through Chewbacca's head, trying to get the information he's after in Chewbacca's memories. But as he's doing this, Chewbacca's fighting back, not by attacking Kylo Ren, but by bringing back older memories. Kylo Ren is looking for new things. Things about the Resistance. Where are they? What are they up to? But every time he's almost at one of those memories, Kylo is thrown back to a memory of him growing up as Ben with Han, Leia, and Chewbacca. And this begins to really strain Kylo. He's breathing heavily under the helmet, and we can see Chewbacca's getting angry. Trudgen and Ushar, the two Knights of Ren in the room, look around nervously at each other. But Kylo keeps searching, tries to overpower Chewbacca's memories, and then Chewbacca remembers Starkiller Base, where Kylo Ren killed Han Solo. And emotionally, this is it. Chewbacca roars, Kylo Ren is thrown back towards the door. So now Chewbacca's got an extra burst of Wookiee strength, and he uses it to rip both of his hands free. He uses his hands to pull off his foot restraints, and now we get Ushar and Trudgen against Chewbacca. Now, in case you've already forgotten, because I told you about this 2 minutes ago, but still it's the Knights of Ren, the most forgettable Star Wars characters in the history of Star Wars. Trudgen has a large cleaver, and Ushar has a war club. So I think it'd be fun if Chewbacca first straight up decks Trudgen, just punches him dead in the chest, knocks him back. Then Ushar comes in with the war club. He charges it up. He raises his arm over his head, gets ready to knock out Chewbacca. But right before Ushar is about to hit Chewbacca, Chewbacca catches Ushar's arm and rips it off of his body. Then Chewbacca picks up the club and knocks Ushar out. Trudgen gets back up, but then Chewbacca takes a huge swing this war club and just destroys Trudgen. He goes flying, the Vibra Cleaver is destroyed, and now it's just Kylo Ren, who's kind of scrambling on the floor, trying to get his bearings. Chewbacca walks up, but before he does anything with the club, Chewbacca reaches over to Kylo's face, grabs the mask, and rips it off, and crushes it into a million pieces. Throws it away. Because before Chewbacca kills the man that killed his best friend, Chewbacca wants to look him in the eye. And if we're telling the story that Rise of Skywalker wants to tell, which ends with the redemption of Ben Solo, this can be the turning point for Kylo Ren. This is the moment where this facade that he has crafted is destroyed, when he was forced to relive the worst moment of his life, and when his friend and former mentor is going to kill him. Because it's easy to forget, Kylo killed Han and tried to kill Luke, but neither of them were trying to hurt him. They both let him kill them. This is Kylo seeing someone he used to care about completely turn on him. Chewbacca, one of the most friendly Star Wars characters, is in full berserker mode, ready to kill Kylo Ren. And this really gets to him. You can see it in his eyes. So Chewbacca swings the war club at Kylo, but Kylo pulls his lightsaber out and cuts Chewbacca's arm off. Chewbacca falls to the floor. Kylo force pushes Chewbacca into a wall, force pushes him into another wall. Chewie falls over, completely defeated. Not dead, but completely defeated. Trudgen and Ushar grab their weapons and run out of the room. Kylo turns his back to Chewbacca, walks out of the room. What might be maybe a tear starts to form in his eyes. And right before the door swooshes closed, Chewbacca lets out one huge heartbroken roar. That's the whole scene. Chewbacca gets an action sequence. The Knights of Ren get a moment to do something. They don't have to be the coolest characters in any of these movies, but we can use their memorable designs and specific weapons to create an interesting scene, and when Chewbacca beats two of them single-handedly, it will be a big achievement. And Chewbacca's lost an arm, and Kylo Ren's lost his mask. I think of it kind of like the X-Men villain Magneto. He wears a special helmet made of a metal that protects him from any telepath reading or controlling his mind. Kylo Ren's helmet isn't made of some sort of special metal that protects him from other Force users, but by taking it away, he becomes more vulnerable emotionally. People can see his face, read his emotions, and yeah, this isn't exactly subtle symbolism, but I mean, the Star Wars movies have never been incredibly subtle with their symbolism. The way that we signal in Episode 6 that Luke has gone from being potentially bad to good is when his black coat reveals a white undershirt. So I think this is par for the course in terms of that the helmet and symbol of Darth Vader, his grandfather, the Sith leader he always wanted to be, being destroyed by Chewbacca, Kylo Ren's father's best friend, who probably raised Kylo, can set him on that path to redemption. And Kylo leaves Chewbacca alive, so this can be our first indication that maybe Kylo isn't all bad. Maybe he is being forced to think about some of these things that he's done from a different perspective. And when Chewbacca is rescued, we get to give him a robot arm. Chewbacca is now a cyborg. And besides that just looking cool, it'll help to do the most important thing in any Star Wars movie: sell new toys. Oh, and one more thing. If you love the idea of Chewbacca and man's best friend being a big walking carpet, I would highly recommend watching the documentary The Secret Life of Dogs on this video's sponsor, CuriosityStream. In it, you learn about dogs, how they grow up, and also how they help people, from being guide dogs to being sled dogs to search and rescue, and all kinds of other stuff that Chewbacca would also do because he is also friendly and helpful. And right now, if you subscribe to CuriosityStream, you also get a subscription to Nebula, a creator-owned streaming service that I helped create. And on Nebula, you can watch a video that I made about how the One Punch Man title sequence helps to define the character of Saitama and his depression and set some purposefully unrealistic expectations for the series to explore. That video only exists on Nebula, as well as videos from channels like Cinema Wins and Now You See It and Captain Midnight and a bunch of other awesome creators you probably already watch. So right now, if you go to curiositystream.com/Nando for unlimited access to the world's top documentaries and nonfiction series, you also get a subscription to Nebula for free. And on top of that, if you enter the promo code NANDO, N-A-N-D-O, when prompted during the sign-up process, your membership is completely free for the first 30 days. It is an insanely good deal. I think you guys are really going to dig it. And tweet me, let me know what you thought of my One Punch Man video.
You know, it's honestly not a bad comic. As always, I have to thank everyone who continues to support the channel on Patreon. You guys are the best. Today, we did our first patron-specific live stream, which I'm going to call from now on the whiteboard videos, the monthly whiteboard video, because I went to my whiteboard over there and just went crazy. I set up 3 movies in a Fantastic Four series, so how would I introduce the Fantastic Four to the Marvel Cinematic Universe? So not only is one of them just a plain old Fantastic Four movie, there's 2 others that I think should accompany it that are really interesting. Thank you to everybody that was on the chat. I hope all the patrons really enjoyed it. And thank you to the Illuminati, the new Patreon tier. Anybody that throws in $5 or more a month gets to suggest and vote on what I'm going to talk about in the monthly whiteboard videos. And because of how well this whiteboard video went today, this idea will probably be a video at some point, which is awesome. So if you have ever thought of being a patron, you can throw in $5 or more and you will be part of the Illuminati, and you can choose what these videos are, or you can just watch this video because it's going to live on my Patreon, and anybody that throws in any amount of money can give it a look. It is patreon.com/NandoViewMovies. I appreciate it so much. You guys are incredible. As always, got to plug the podcast, Mostly Nitpicking, where every week me and my co-hosts DJ and Diggins pick apart a piece of pop culture by looking exclusively at the details. We just recorded an episode on Doolittle, and oh boy, a Welsh accent is not easy to do, and that is just a teaser for not only the movie itself, but the episode where we all try to do Welsh accents, because for some reason, Robert Downey Jr. as Dr. Doolittle does a Welsh accent throughout the entire movie. We can't quite put our finger on it. It must be a thing from the books, but yeah, no, it's an incredible incredible movie, and it is going to make an incredible podcast. You can listen wherever you listen to your podcasts. We are at Nitpicking Pod on Twitter. Speaking of that, as always, follow me on Twitter and Instagram. My handle is Nando V Movies. It's where I post updates on videos and podcasts, and where I ask you guys questions like, what's the bit from Avengers Infinity War where Thanos grabs Tony Stark's helmet, rips it off, and the helmet immediately reforms? Because I needed to find that clip for this video because it was so much of like the image I wanted of Chewbacca pulling the helmet off Kylo Ren. And you guys responded super quickly. Thank you everybody so much that responded to that. Among others, we had Michael. Benilla was the person who gave me a timestamp here, which was super helpful. So thank you all so much. Again, at Nando V Movies on Twitter and Instagram. That is all I got. I will see you next time.